there's a strange kind of pain that no one talks about. It's not heartbreak, not grief. It's the quiet disappointment of watching yourself shrink again. You had plans. You had fire. But then the day passed. Then another. And before you knew it, your dream became just another tab you forgot to reopen. Most people chalk this up to laziness or call themselves undisciplined. But what if that's not it at all? What if the part of you that seems to sabotage your progress is actually trying to protect you? This isn't a story about working harder. It's about seeing yourself clearly, maybe, for the first time. You're watching Mind See, where the mind learns to see. Part 1. The Invisible Tug of War. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how you can dream way bigger than the people around you, but still end up stuck in the same unproductive routines, the same stale excuses? It's not that you lack ambition. You've got it in spades. You plan. You get inspired. You tell yourself, this time will be different. And for a moment, maybe a day, maybe just an hour, you believe it. But then something invisible grabs the wheel. Suddenly you're tired, distracted, overwhelmed. You retreat again into comfort. The world might call it laziness. You might have called it that yourself 100 times. But Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, who spent his life mapping the inner world, he saw something different. He didn't think laziness was a flaw in your character. He believed it was a mask, a label we slap onto something much deeper, something older, something smarter, a silent war happening inside your psyche. See, most people look at their procrastination and think, I just need more willpower. So they binge motivational videos, overhaul their routines, and beat themselves up when they fall short. But motivation, that's just surface energy. And surface energy can't win a battle underground. Jung had a different theory. He believed that inside each of us is a hidden part we avoid, a part we don't want to face. He called it the shadow. It's not evil. It's not trying to ruin your life. It's made up of all the uncomfortable parts of yourself you've pushed out of you, your insecurities, doubts, fears, failures, the stuff you'd rather forget. But here's the wild part. The more ambitious you are, the bigger your shadow tends to grow. Why? Because ambition stretches the boundaries of who you are. Every big goal, every bold dream, it's a threat to the shadow's favorite thing, safety. So what does it do? It resists. Not loudly, not violently, but subtly. You feel fatigue when you should feel energy. You get busy with pointless tasks. Your brain hands you polished excuses on a silver platter. I'll start tomorrow. I just need to do a bit more research. I'm not ready yet. Sound familiar? This isn't weakness. It's a built-in protection system. A psychological tug of war between who you are now and who you want to become. And until you see that tug of war clearly, you will always lose. Because when you fight the shadow blindly, it wins by default. Now, most people hear this and think, okay, so I just need more motivation, right? Wrong. Motivation, when misused, is actually fuel for your shadow. It amps you up, raises your expectations, and then when you stumble, your shadow pounces. See, I knew you'd fail. Jung believed you can't outrun the parts of yourself you refuse to look at. The more you hype yourself up without addressing the inner resistance, the more frustration builds when you crash again. The shadow feeds on that cycle. Let's walk through it. You get inspired. You set a bold goal. Maybe it's starting a business, transforming your health, changing careers. At first, you feel unstoppable. You buy a planner. You make a checklist. You tell your friends. But as the days pass, doubt creeps in. You get distracted. You start negotiating with yourself. I'll begin once things calm down. I just need more rest first. I'll start Monday. And suddenly, a month is gone. The goal feels distant again. So you go looking for the next burst of inspiration, and the cycle restarts. This is the trap. It's not a lack of potential. It's a lack of honest confrontation with what you're actually afraid of. Because deep down, there's a part of you that isn't scared of failure. It's scared of success and all the responsibility, pressure, and change that comes with it. Let that land. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. How many times have you said, that's just who I am, or I always mess things up, or maybe I'm not meant for that kind of life? That's your unconscious, your shadow scripting your identity. And you're mistaking it for the truth. But fate is just a name we give to the patterns we don't understand. So here's the question most people are too afraid to ask. If you want success so badly, why do you keep getting in your own way? Is it fear of judgment? Fear of standing out? Fear of not being good enough once people finally see you? The shadow doesn't want you to suffer. It wants to protect you from those old wounds, from the memory of being laughed at, from the sting of disappointment, from the fear that if you grow too far, the people around you might leave. But it can't tell the difference between real danger and imagined risk. So every time you step toward your goal, it quietly tugs you back. This is why big change feels so heavy. You're not just changing habits. You're confronting the emotional armor you've worn for years. And if you're not aware of that, you'll keep blaming yourself. Your energy, your timing, your discipline. When in reality, it's your unconscious defense mechanism doing its job. So here's the invitation. Don't shame yourself. Don't try to bully your way into action. Learn to see the shadow. Understand its role. And when you do, you'll realize something powerful, that you don't need more hype. You need a new relationship with yourself. Think back to the last time you truly wanted to change something about your life. Maybe it was waking up earlier, or finally launching that side project, or getting back in shape. You had energy, vision, a plan, and then, out of nowhere, you found yourself deep cleaning your kitchen, scrolling TikTok, or reorganizing your email folders. Anything except doing the thing that actually mattered. That wasn't random. That was your shadow defending its ground. You see, your shadow doesn't fight you with swords. It fights you with comfort, with distractions, with perfectly rational excuses that lull you back into safety. Jung saw this time and time again in his patients. Brilliant people, ambitious people. And yet, when it came time to act, they choked. Not because they didn't care, but because underneath all that drive there was fear. Fear of failure, fear of being seen, fear of the unknown. So they self-sabotaged and called it fate. And here's the paradox. Most people miss every behavior you label as bad procrastination. Avoidance playing small gives you something in return. Even if that something is just the temporary relief of not having to deal with pressure, not starting that business. That means you don't risk rejection, staying in bed all day. No one can judge your performance if you don't show up. There's a payoff always, and until you name what that payoff is, you will stay stuck. This is where radical honesty comes in, not productivity hacks, not another motivational speaker shouting at you to grind harder. Jung believed real transformation only begins when you have the courage to ask, what is my resistance actually trying to protect me from? So tonight, try this. Sit somewhere quiet. Close your eyes. And imagine that the part of you that always finds reasons to delay, the procrastinator, the avoider, the doubter, is sitting across from you. Don't judge it. Don't rush it. Just ask one question. What are you afraid will happen if I succeed? Let whatever answer comes, come. It might sound silly. It might be petty. It might go back years. I'll be overwhelmed. People won't like the new me. I'll outgrow the people I love. I'll try and fail and prove I'm not enough. Whatever it is, that's your shadow speaking. Not to hurt you, but to warn you. And the more you ignore it, the louder it gets. That voice, that hesitation, that old familiar shame. It's not weakness. It's just unprocessed pain wearing a new costume. But once you listen to it, truly listen, something amazing happens. It loses its power to control you from the dark. Suddenly, you're not wasting energy fighting yourself. You're not trapped in guilt or shame or that loop of, why am I like this? You're free to use that energy for change. Now here's the part that most people get wrong. They try to fight the shadow with discipline, with willpower, with tough love. But Jung believed something completely different. He taught that you can't hate yourself into transformation. The part of you that's stuck doesn't need more punishment. It needs understanding. It needs compassion. It needs a seat at the table. When you stop treating your fear like the enemy, it stops acting like one. You can finally move forward without dragging the full weight of inner resistance behind you. So if you're feeling stuck, don't start with a grand gesture. Start with a single, honest step. One small thing that moves you toward your goal, even if it feels tiny. Send that message. Go for that 5-minute walk. Speak your truth to one person. Then, and this part is crucial, notice what happens inside you afterward. Does your shadow protest? Does it try to bargain? Okay, that was good. But maybe don't do that again. Maybe wait until next week to follow up. Don't fight that voice, just notice it. Because the goal here isn't perfection, it's pattern recognition. Every time you take a real honest step and stay aware of your reaction, the grip of your shadow loosens just a bit more. This is why most people turn back. It feels slow. It's uncomfortable. There's no instant payoff. And honestly, it's scary to admit how much fear is hiding under your habits. But the people who keep going, who stay honest, who don't flinch, they're the ones who finally escape the loop. Because they don't just try to do different, they start to see differently. Let me be clear, this isn't about becoming fearless. Fear is natural. Resistance is part of the deal. The difference is you stop letting that fear drive the bus. You learn how to walk with it, to include it, without giving it the steering wheel. By now, you've probably realized something. The shadow isn't some demon trying to ruin your life. It's the part of you that remembers every rejection, every mistake, every painful lesson. It's trying to keep you from repeating them, but in doing so, it also keeps you small. That's why Jung believed that integration, not suppression, was the goal. Bringing the unconscious into consciousness. Bringing the shadow into the light, not to destroy it, but to reclaim the energy you've spent hiding from yourself. In the final part of this journey, we're going to talk about action, not the kind that burns bright and fizzles out, but the kind that builds momentum slowly, steadily, until your shadow has no choice but to step aside. Because when you move from self-awareness to self-leadership, you stop waiting for motivation and start becoming unstoppable. You've made it this far, and that already puts you in rare company. Because by now you've done what most people never do. You've looked beneath the surface. You've stopped blaming yourself. And you've started understanding the invisible patterns that run your life. But insight alone isn't the destination. Awareness is only the beginning. Here's where most people get stuck. They understand their inner blocks. They recognize their self-sabotage. But they never turn that understanding into action. It's like being handed the map to a maze and then deciding to stay in the same corner because walking looks hard. Jung saw this over and over in his work. People who had powerful realizations but couldn't move forward because they waited for the perfect moment. They mistook insight for transformation. But real change is built, not revealed. So let's shift from understanding to doing, from reflection to movement. Because here's the truth. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You don't need to prove your worth by running a marathon tomorrow. You just need to take one honest, consistent step every day. Let me give you the exact process. Call it a blueprint. Call it a challenge. Call it your invitation to finally break the cycle. Step 1. Name your shadow. Sit with the version of you that resists change. And ask it the hard question. What are you protecting me from? It might say, I don't want you to be rejected again. I'm scared success will isolate you. I'm afraid you'll disappoint people. Whatever comes up, write it down. Not to judge it, but to understand it. That's how you stop the shadow from running the show behind your back. Step 2. Choose a micro-action. Pick one action. Just one. Something so small your shadow won't see it as a threat. A 5-minute walk. One paragraph written. A short voice note sent. One honest check-in with someone you trust. That's your practice. Not a to-do list, not a hustle plan. A practice. Something you can do daily, no matter how you feel. Step 3. Track your resistance. Every night ask yourself, did I take my action today? If yes, great. If no, ask, what came up? What story did my shadow tell me? Write it down, even if it's just a sentence. This does 2 powerful things. It keeps you honest. It lets you watch your shadow in real time. And what you observe consistently, you can change intentionally. Step 4. Share your truth. This part feels uncomfortable for many, but it's non-negotiable. Find one person, a friend, a mentor, or even a community online. Tell them what you're doing, even if it feels messy, slow, or silly. Why? Because shadows grow strongest in silence. When you speak your truth, you strip it of shame. Suddenly, you're not just someone thinking about change. You're someone living it out loud. And chances are, someone else will hear you and say, me too. That connection. That's fuel. That's how your momentum becomes real. Step 5. Expect the dip and come back in a way. There will be days when everything in you wants to stop. The old habits will call your name. You'll feel too tired, too discouraged, too unsure. That's not failure. That's the shadow making one last push. Jung wrote, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. So if you miss a day, don't spiral. Notice it. Forgive it. Return to your practice the next day. No shame, no drama, just return. The people who build a real change aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who always get back up. Every time you return, you rewrite the story your shadow has been telling you for years. I'm not consistent. I always quit. I never follow through. Not anymore. Because now you're showing up even when it's hard. And that is power. Here's the bottom line. The shadow doesn't disappear overnight. It doesn't vanish after one breakthrough or one good week. But it does lose its grip every time you choose action over avoidance, honesty over denial, presence over perfection. And the more you practice this, the more your shadow starts to shift. It stops being the thing that holds you back and becomes the thing that strengthens you because you've integrated it. You're no longer fighting yourself. You're leading yourself. And in that alignment, all the energy you've wasted in self-doubt becomes available again. For your work, your relationships, your life. So here's your challenge, your invitation. Do this for 3 weeks. Seriously. 3 weeks of small intentional action, of honest tracking, of naming your shadow and calling it out, of speaking your truth and returning when you fall. Don't aim for perfection, aim for honesty. You'll be shocked at how fast the story changes when you stop waiting to feel ready and start living as if you already are. Because you are. You've made it to the end farther than most ever do. And that tells me one thing. You're not looking for hype. You're looking for truth, for tools, for something real. Carl Jung believed that the people who dared to face themselves became rare and powerful, not because they were fearless, but because they stopped pretending. They stopped playing small, and they began living their own story instead of repeating someone else's. That's who you're becoming now. And the world, it needs more people like that. It needs you awake, aware, and moving forward. So if this message landed with you, if you felt seen, don't keep it to yourself. Share what your shadow has been whispering, or what small step you're taking today. Not for validation, but for liberation. And support someone else doing the same. Let's build a space where honesty wins over image. Where transformation is something we do together, not alone. Because your new story starts now.